Okay, so let's continue with our okay. Okay, so in the last class, like we saw like how to parameterize the test as well as like different things that you can do with the TestNG framework. Okay, so like parameters, asserts, reporters, like dependent, like dependency, priority, how to group the test cases, and also how to execute the test cases as a suite. So all these things like we completed, and all the annotations. Okay, and like we do have some more called like parallel testing as well as the TestNG listeners, which we will parallel test is nothing but like how to execute the test cases in the grid. Okay, so with the help of the TestNG, we can execute all our test cases in the grid also, like so which we'll see later, like the listeners as well as the parallel testing, like we will see after the next topic that we complete, like after Cucumber, like we'll see these two, because it will make more sense in case if after completing the Cucumber. So that's why I don't want to cover these two topics now, but I'll cover it after Cucumber. Okay, once we are done with the Cucumber. Okay, so now let's start something called as new topic, which is Cucumber. Okay, so like TestNG we saw like it's kind of a framework that has some functionalities in it. Okay, in the same way like we have JUnit, which has some different functionalities like annotations. And if you come to the TestNG, like we have some different things, like let's say like whatever that we just saw, grouping of the test cases and executing the test cases as a suite, and setting some priority to our test cases like that. Okay, so in the same way, like we have one more framework that is called as Cucumber. Okay, so this is like one of the tool or the framework that many companies are nowadays using it. Like most of the companies who are is using Selenium as well as the development like agile methodology, they are using the Cucumber also. Okay, so let's see like what Cucumber is and how we write the test cases, or how we actually develop our automation scripts with the help of the Cucumber. Okay, so it's also an open source automation testing tool, like, or the it's a open source framework, so we don't need to pay anyone to use it. So all we can do is we can just download it, and like we can install that, and we can use the tool or the framework. Okay, so we can use the same thing even in our Eclipse itself, so we don't need to install any other tool for that. So in the Eclipse itself, like we can install the Cucumber and we can start using it. Okay, and it's a like basically it's a framework which supports something called as BDD, which is BDD, which is behavior driven environment. Okay, so basically what this BDD is, see, let me open some notepad. Okay, so BDD is like there is something called as TDD, and like we have BDD. Okay, so what exactly this TDD and BDD is? Basically the TDD is nothing but test driven development. Okay, and BDD is behavioral driven development. Okay, so test driven development and behavior driven development. So like nowadays, like this is getting popular, and what exactly this TDD and BDDs are is, so previously what used to happen in the waterfall model, like we used to get all the requirements from the client, and based on the requirement, like the developers used to start developing the application, and the testers used to start testing like their own test cases. Like testers will write their own test cases, and developers, they'll write their own code to develop the application. Okay, so what used to happen is like when the test, like when you get the requirements from the client, like there are chances that the testers might think in a different way, or understand those requirements in a different way, and the developers might understand the requirements in a different way and start developing the application. Okay, whereas the client itself might have a different way of thoughts and might have created the requirements in a like whatever the way that he was interested in. Okay, so in this way, like when the requirements come out, everyone will have their own understanding of the requirements, and based on that they will start developing and they will start testing the application. So but there might be some chances that the understanding might be different, and there might be some gaps in the understanding, and so the application might not be developed as wanted by the clients. So in those cases what will happen, there is again a rework. So that like let's say the requirements come, the developers will test it, develop it, will test it. So but once the application is ready to be delivered to the client comes and checks them, and then he thinks that we haven't covered everything, or the application is not as per what his requirements are. So in those cases what we will do, like we'll come back, we'll go back and like we'll again modify the application, like we will make the changes to make sure that our application is working as per the client's requirement. So as we already developed everything and then we are making some changes, the cost to fix that issues will be a lot. Okay, so for that reason, like nowadays what's happening is they are coming up with this test driven development. So in this development, like what will happen is, first the testers will write, the testers or the business people or the business analyst, like they will start creating our test cases. Okay, so they will create some tests and then they will execute those tests, so which will fail. So if it is an automation or what, like they'll start creating the test, like okay, something like let's say open the application, something like let's say they want to test the login, like they want to create the login functionality. So they will write the test cases first, like click on or something on home page, login button should be displayed. Okay, then click on login, which will navigate to login page. Enter credentials for successful login. Okay, enter correct credentials or like correct credentials for successful login. Okay, so what's happening in this scenario? So first we'll write this scenario and then we'll execute this scenario. So we'll use some tool, and in that tool we'll define it. Okay, this is what, like we'll write the code. Let's say if it is WebDriver, we'll get the URL and everything and we'll run them. So as the application is not available, those tests will fail. So then those tests will go back to the developers. So the developers also will take this test and then they'll start like they'll start creating the application based on this. Okay, so that's what the test driven development. So now once the application is developed by the developers, then we'll again execute these tests. So what will happen now, as the application is there and it's working, then our test will pass. Okay, so this is what the test driven development is. So first we will write the test, then the developers will develop the application, then we'll execute that test. So first time it will fail, then second time once the application has been developed, like when we run the test, it will pass. Okay, so this is what the TDD is, test driven development. So nowadays many companies are using this. And in the same way, like we also have behavior driven development, so which is BDD. So again, BDD is also same thing like test driven development, but what we do is in these scenarios we'll write the behavior of the application. So same thing but in a different formats. Okay, so same, we will first write our tests, then we'll execute those tests which will fail because the application is not there. Then the developers will develop the application and we'll execute those tests. Then the test will pass, or in case if the test fails, the developers will change it. So this process is called like TDD and BDD, and these scenarios are generally written by the business people. Okay, so business people like business analysts or directly the clients, they will write this tests, and then in case if the clients cannot write it, then the testers also will join and they will write these scenarios. Okay, and in some companies nowadays, like everything is being done by developers itself. Okay, so in case if they are using the agile methodology, what they are doing is they are asking the developers itself to create these tests, then develop the application, then again test it. Okay, not many companies are doing, but some companies are going in that path. Okay, so they are taking only the developers who know the testing as well as the development, and they are trying to even achieve that. Okay, but not many companies, some are doing it. Okay, so to achieve this TDD and BDD, like we have some specific tool, like we can use this Cucumber. Okay, so Cucumber helps to achieve this TDD and BDD. Okay, so whatever the scenarios that we are writing, we will write in the Cucumber. Okay, and this Cucumber, like, so it's a different language, like all by Cucumber itself, like it has some different language that you have to use and write our scenarios. And in this, once you write these scenarios, we can implement, like we can actually write the testing in any of the other languages like Java, .NET or Ruby. So whatever the Selenium supports, we have to use all those languages. Okay, we'll see, like this is just like a front end. Okay, so which will write the scenarios, and to implement that scenarios we will again use different language like Java, Cucumber, like sorry, Ruby, .NET or any of those languages we can use it. Okay, so let's basically understand what it is. So this is TDD and BDD, so and which is supported by Cucumber. So to achieve this TDD and BDD, we will use the Cucumber. Okay, and also it's simple English like language. Okay, so generally what we do is we write the scenarios in the English text language. Okay, and which is called as Gherkin. Okay, so Cucumber uses something called as Gherkin. So what this Gherkin is, we will write the code, or that Gherkin itself is a English like sentences. So whatever that we just did, so it will look same thing like this. So we'll start writing the scenarios in the Gherkin like this. Okay, we'll see like how to write it, we'll see, but it looks same thing like this itself. It's not like Java or anything where you write the code, but it's plain old English language. Okay, that's what is Gherkin is. And not only that, like basically this Cucumber was implemented in Ruby. Like it was first implemented in Ruby. That means only Ruby language was able to use the Cucumber. But later it has been even moved into Java and all the other languages, .NET. So before, when they actually first developed this Cucumber, they were able to only use Ruby for that, for the development task. But now everything is being done. Okay, implemented in Ruby first, but now move to other languages also, but now supports other languages like Java or like .NET, like that. Okay, so yeah, this is about the Cucumber. So it supports BDD and TDD. Then it has like English like language, like which is called as Gherkin, and it has been implemented in Ruby first, but now like supports many of the other languages. Okay, so that's what TDD and BDD is. Then let's learn something about the Gherkin also, because we'll be writing the code in actual Gherkin. Okay. Okay. So first thing that we need to know about this Gherkin is, like, this is the first language that is supported by Cucumber. Okay, supported by Cucumber. Okay, and not only that, like basically it's a readable language, like it's a business readable language which everybody can understand. So see, business readable English like language which is easily understandable by everyone in the project. Okay, like let's say business owners, okay, then BAs, then let's say developers, then testers, like that. Okay, see, like if you take the Java code, like that is not, like not everyone can understand what that code is. Like whatever the Java code that the developers write for the application, we might not understand. As a tester, we might not understand what that code is. Okay, and as a business owner or a business analyst, like they might not be that technical to understand the language or the Java code. Okay, so unless the application is given to them, they will not be able to actually know what is present in the application. Okay, so they cannot test it until the application has been fully developed. Okay, but with this Gherkin, what will happen is, so we will write the test in English like language, which is easily, like they can easily, so they can read it and they can understand what is being done in the application, or what will be done or what will be developed in the application. Okay, so that's one of the main benefit of using the Gherkin. So that's why everyone is using Gherkin nowadays, like Cucumber and the Gherkin. Okay, and also it supports as a what you call as a documentation also. Okay, see it serves as documentation and test automation also. Okay, in the sense, like see, now with the help of Gherkin, we'll write all the scenarios in English like language, so which is easily understandable by everyone. So we don't need to prepare any other documentation. So when the business owners start thinking or giving the requirements, they will prepare in this format itself. So by that, reducing the testing time, like we don't need to again write the test cases. What we can do is we can just reuse those Gherkin steps or the scenarios, and we can test the application. So we don't need to write our test cases again. Even that is being used by the automation testers also. See, Cucumber is a automation tool, like automation framework. So again, the automation testers also don't need to write their scenarios again. So they also can use the same scenarios and they can create the automation script for it. Okay, we'll see, if you write one Gherkin scenario, we'll understand how exactly that Gherkin works. Okay, and with that, like see, they don't need to make any other documentation. They can just use these Gherkin steps itself to develop the automation, or to give the requirements to the testers and the developers or everyone. Okay, and also this Gherkin is a structured language. Structured language in the sense, like it uses some syntaxes, so we need to follow those syntaxes. Okay, see, follow some syntax. Okay, like how we followed in Java, like if you want to write a if loop, so we have to say if and open the brackets and write something in it. So even in case if you miss anything, like it will throw an error. Even if you write the if as uppercase I, lowercase if, like it's a specific strongly typed language. So in the same way, even Gherkin is like that. So you need to follow some syntaxes when you are writing the code. So it's a structured language that we need to use. Okay, and also it has a lot of keywords. It has keywords. Okay, we'll see what those keywords are. We'll see. And not only this, like Gherkin supports many languages, like many languages in the sense, see, supports many languages. Okay, that means like we can write the scenarios in different types of languages. Like one is English, then we can write in French, then we can write in Hindi, then we can write in Gujarati, like Chinese. So many languages. Okay, so anyone who knows any of these languages, they can start writing the steps or the scenarios in Gherkin. Okay, so it supports all these kinds of languages, so you can write it in Hindi also, like your scenarios. Okay, so not many use it, but it supports. So mostly it is written in English itself. Okay, but it supports all these kinds of languages. Okay, so this is what the features of Gherkin is. Okay, so we'll see all those keywords, like how we exactly write those syntaxes for each and every type of step that we have. We'll see them. Okay, So first, let's see some of the keywords. Okay, I'll say gherkin keywords. Okay, so the first keyword that we will or we need to know from this is called feature. Okay, so basically what exactly this feature is, like this is the entry point for the Cucumber. Okay, so what Cucumber does is it comes into the feature first, or before even going into the keywords, maybe let's install the Cucumber first so that we can see these keywords directly in the code itself. Okay, so to install Cucumber, see, we need to go to Eclipse, then we need to go to help, install new software. Same thing like how we install the JUnit and other stuff. In the same way, like we also need to install this Cucumber software also. Okay, and then we'll come to the available software, then click on this add button and give some name to it. Let's say Cucumber. Yeah, just we'll give Cucumber, and the path is, see, this is the path. Okay, so we need to provide this path, like, which is http://cucumber.github.com/cucumber-eclipse/update-site. Okay, so I'll send this to you guys. So all we need to do is just copy paste here, and then we need to click on OK. Okay, see, once you do that, we'll get this Cucumber Eclipse plugin. All we need to do is click on this and then click on next. So we are trying to install this. Okay, so then click on next, and it will ask you for the permission. Say I accept the terms of the license agreement, then click finish, which is going to install the software for us. Okay, so it says like you are installing the software that contains unsigned content. So just say okay. Do you wish to continue the installation? Just say okay. Okay, and it's asking you to like restart the Eclipse. Just say oh yes. So it's launching the application. There is a question like is this used by the business analyst? No, like basically the scenarios are written by the business analyst and everyone, either like business analyst or the business owner, but finally like what we'll do is like whatever the scenarios that have been written will be used by the testers as well as the developers also. Okay, so everyone will use the same thing. So once the BAs or the business owners write those scenarios in the Gherkin, we will take them and we'll use it and develop our automation scripts. And the developers also, they view that and they'll create their application. So it's used by everyone. So sometimes BAs might write the scenarios, or sometimes in case if the BAs are not available, then the testers might also write the scenarios and give it to the developers as well as the business owners. So anyone can develop that. Okay, so once you do this, like it has been installed. So next what we need to do is, see, let's create a new package or like new project so we can have everything in there. So I'll say Java project, and I'll give it as, let's say, Cucumber, or I'll say September 2016 Cucumber. Okay, and then click on finish or next. Okay, so click on finish, so which will create the Cucumber folder for me. Okay, so now in this, like, it's again the same thing, like Java file, like it created a Java project in there. So now let's create one more file or a folder See, I'll create a folder and I'll say, let's say cucumber features. Just a folder so that I can keep all my files in there. Okay, so the first step, so this is how like you can install the Cucumber add-in to your Eclipse, and then we can create one project in there. Okay, and one folder. So the first step is called as like feature. Okay, so what exactly this feature is? See, when we were creating a JUnit, or let's say Java class. So what we're doing, we were just creating one class. Like I can go to the source, right click, say new, and we are creating a class. Okay, wherein we can select like what we want to do. So we'll create a class and write the code inside it. And when we were using the JUnit, so we were in the same way, we were creating a JUnit file like new, other, and we're creating the JUnit class and we're writing the code in it. So in the same way, like in order for us to write the code in Cucumber, like we need to create something called as feature file. Okay, so that is first the entry point for the Cucumber is the feature file. So in the feature file itself, we'll write all our scenarios that we want to use for the application or test the application or develop the application. So first step is we'll create a feature file, and that's the entry point for the Cucumber. Okay, so feature file is the entry point for Cucumber. Okay, so that's a feature file. Okay, so let's try to create it. See, I'll just go to this Cucumber folder, right click, say new file. Okay, and here give some name to it. Let's say login feature. Okay, or I'll just say login dot feature. Okay, so we need to give the extension as dot feature, then only Cucumber will think that it is a feature file. So even if you give any other extensions, then it is not treated as a feature file. So we need to provide dot feature. So click on finish, which will create a feature. And also see, it created some sample for us. Okay, so if you see here, like it gave you some sample keywords like author, what is the feature, like scenario, everything, all the information. Okay, who created it and when we created all these information as well. See, it also created a sample scenario for us. Okay, we'll not use that, but by default when you create it, it will give a sample scenario to us like this. Okay, see, let me delete everything. Okay, and yeah, I'll cut it from here. I'll paste it here so that in case if we need, we can use it from here. Okay, see, so let's save this. So now we created a login dot feature, and if you see here, this is the icon for the Cucumber. Okay, so this is a Cucumber icon, login dot feature. In case if you create this feature like without installing the Cucumber add-in, if you create a feature file, then you will not get this symbol. Okay, so it doesn't recognize it. So we need to install the Cucumber add-in, then only we'll be able to use it. So there are some jar files also that we need to associate, which we'll do later when we are executing it, or when we actually create the test, then we'll use it. Okay, so first step is creating the feature file. So in this feature file, like we'll write all our scenarios. Feature is nothing but, see, for example, okay, feature. So basically feature is a mix of like, or a combination of functionalities. Okay, for example, if you take one application, let me open Chrome or something, let's say amazon.com. Okay, see, in this Amazon website, like there are different functionalities that you will do. So each functionality you can call it as a feature. Okay, so for example, see, when you click on this sign into your account, see, we can say that this is the login feature. Like you are entering the email, password, clicking on the sign in button, we can say like this is the login functionality, or we can also say like login feature. And in this login feature, we have to test multiple things. Okay, first thing that we might need to test is whether all these objects are present or not. Like when you open or when you click on this sign in button, our scenario or the might say, or we might need to test whether this sign in is present or not, email is present or not, password is present or not, sign in button is present or not. Like we might need to check all these things. So all these links, all these buttons. So based on the requirement, we might need to test all of them. Okay, so that can be one scenario. Okay, see, so I can say this is the login feature, login functionality, or just like login feature. Okay, and in it I might need to test multiple scenarios in there, like check all objects. Okay, then I might need to test one more scenario saying that, let's say, enter correct username and password, user should be logged in. Okay, then there can be one more scenario that we might need to test, enter incorrect username and correct password, user should not be logged in. Okay, and error message should display, some error message should be displayed. Okay, there can be one more scenario, okay, let's say enter correct username and incorrect password. Okay, so all these things, so like user should not be logged in and error message should be displayed, something like that. Okay, so we need to think about like all the different combinations. So these are all scenarios, and in one feature, like we have to test all these scenarios. Okay, so what we'll do is in this feature file we will write scenarios to test all those things. Okay, so that's what a feature is. So basically a feature is a group of functionalities. Okay, so whatever the functionalities or scenarios that you have in that functionality, we'll call it as a feature. Okay, so first we'll create with the feature file. So for that, like we need to give a keyword. Okay, so we will use keyword called feature. Okay, see, uppercase feature, and just give a colon like this. See, feature. So the color has been changed. That means this is a keyword. Okay, and we need to give some name to it, login or something, Amazon login functionalities, something, whatever the name that you want, we can provide it to it. Okay, so this is how we'll just create a feature. So in this feature, like we have different scenarios. Okay, and until like you can give some message also, like in this feature we can give some description also, in the sense like what exactly is this feature is, or what are we actually going to do in this in this specific feature. So everything we can give a description here. So for that we can give a keyword description, like something like this, description, and say it's not exactly a keyword but something, a word. Okay, and here we can say description like Amazon login functionalities will be tested in this feature file. Okay, Amazon login functionalities will be tested in the feature file. Okay, just a description. Okay, see the color of this word is not changed because this is not a keyword. Okay, so whatever that you give after a feature, so everything it will treat it as the description itself. Okay, or the information for that specific feature. Okay, so once this feature has been written, so we can either like give a feature like this and name, and then all the description for it. Okay, and once this is done, we have one more keyword called as scenario. Okay, see, scenarios are nothing but individual scenarios that we will be creating. So same thing, how we created the scenarios here, like we can have multiple scenarios in a feature file. In one feature file, like you can only have one scenario, or you can have multiple scenarios also. Okay, so it depends on like whatever the way that you want to. Okay, see, something like this. So I can create one scenario, CENARIO : Okay, so uppercase scenario. Okay, so until it like sees a scenario keyword after the feature, whatever the text that you write inside that, it will treat it as a part of feature itself. Okay, like feature name and feature description or whatever that you think, like it will treat it as a feature itself until you see this scenario. Okay, so now comes a scenario. So scenario is nothing but like whatever the scenario that you want to test in that function or in that file. Okay, so I can say that, let's say verifying the Amazon homepage objects or homepage objects, I can say. See, verifying the Amazon homepage objects. So this is kind of the test or the test name. So scenario is nothing but a test that you will be developing it. Okay, so we call it as a scenario in Cucumber, and this is the name of that scenario, or we can like say that the name of the test that we will be developing it. Okay, so this is what the scenario. In this way, like we can create any number of scenarios. So this is one scenario. Let's say the second scenario is verifying Amazon login functionality. Okay, hyphen success message or successful login. Okay, and I can have one more scenario. See, verifying Amazon login functionality, and let's say incorrect username message verification. Okay, incorrect username message verification. Okay, and like that. So like this I can create any number of scenarios. So let me copy this and we'll have one more scenario which will say incorrect password message verification. So like this. So in one feature file, like you can create any number of features or scenarios like this. Okay, so these are just scenarios. Inside that scenarios, we'll write the steps to actually perform this test. Okay, so verifying the objects, verifying the login functionalities, like we'll write the steps in the sense what exactly are we going to do to make sure that scenario is passed. Okay, so we'll write those steps. So now we'll write those steps, and this is what the scenario is. And after the scenario, like we have something called as given. Okay, so given is one of the keyword. Okay, and basically what this given is, it's a precondition to our test. Okay, see, precondition to test. Okay, so whatever the precondition that you want to have to your test, we need to provide it in given. Okay, so how we do it is, see, for example, to come to this page or before like this before it, so whatever scenario is verifying the Amazon home page objects. Okay, so instead of home page objects, I'll say Amazon login page objects. Okay, so because we are going on to the login functionality, so what it is I want to test this. Okay, so to come here, what is our precondition? Like our precondition is to launch the browser, open amazon.com and click on the sign in page. Okay, so these are the preconditions. So before even for me to go and test the login page objects, I need to make sure that, or I need to make sure our script should open a browser, open the URL, and then it needs to click on this. Okay, so these are the preconditions for my test. Okay, so that should be provided in the given. Okay, see, something like this. So after the scenario, our first step would be given. Okay, see, given, let's say user is on Amazon login page. Okay, so given user is on Amazon login page. So this step specifies that like we need to open the browser and the URL and click on that login link. and make sure that we are on this page. Okay, so we will write that code. So this is only the Gherkin step that we are creating. So later we will implement this in whatever the language that we want to. But this is the plain Gherkin steps that we are writing. Okay, so based on the scenario, we'll write these steps. So given the user is on Amazon login page. Okay, so that's a prerequisite. So prerequisite for our, or the precondition for our test should be in the given keyword. Okay, so that's what the given is. So after given, let's say we have something, next one is the when. So this is the precondition for our test. Then we have when keyword. Okay, so when keyword is the action that we will perform for that specific scenario. Okay, so action that will be executed or performed for that scenario. Yeah, action that will be executed slash performed for that scenario. Okay, so this is what the when is. So whatever the action that we want to perform, we will provide it in this when. Okay, so in this scenario, like what we can do is, see, given user is on Amazon login page, when, let's say, what we can have here is when what we can do when is, okay, I'll just go back. Instead of Amazon login page, I'll say Amazon home page. Okay, so given user is on Amazon home page, when user clicks on sign in button, yeah, user clicks on sign in button, sign in link on home page. Okay, so just like trying to change it. Okay, so when user clicks on sign in home page. Okay, so this is our task. Okay, so that comes in the when. So when you do some task, like when you perform some action on that, for that scenario, we need to provide it in this when tag. Okay, so given user is on the Amazon home page, which will make sure that you, like, will open the browser and open the URL in it, and then when user clicks on the sign in link on the home page, okay, so that's our action that we will be performing on the application. So when we'll click on this, okay, so, and our next keyword is, in case if you have anything, okay, so next our keyword is then. Okay, so then is nothing but expected. What is that you are expecting from that step? Expected from the scenario. Okay, so expected would be something like this, like, see, given when then. Okay, so when the user clicks on that, what are you expecting? Okay, what is the application, or what should the application do? Okay, so it says that, let's say, okay, so then user should see all the objects on the login page. Okay, so we can specify what objects also, or I'm just saying that user should see all the objects on the login page. If not all, we can just specify that. We can specify, like, let's say, username, comma, password, and submit objects. User should see username, password, and submit objects on the login page. Something like this, like email, oh sorry, instead of username, we'll say email, just to see, email, password, and the login. Email, password, sign in. Okay, so let me change it to sign in. Sign in. Okay, and there is one more object. Let's put that one also. Sign in and create an account. Yeah, create your Amazon account. your Amazon account. Okay, something like this. So user should see password, sign in and create your Amazon account on the login page. So this is what your expected is. So expected should be in the then. Okay, either you can, and there is one more keyword called and. So what our and will do is, okay, and keyword. Okay, so basically what this and keyword is, in case if you have multiple things that you want to do. Okay, so let's say when you're doing a when, you know that let's say you have to do multiple steps in it, not just one step, but let's say multiple steps. And even after, like with the then also you can use and. Let's say if you want to verify multiple things on that step, so we can also use and. Okay, so see, simply like this, let me tell you. So instead of having everything in one line of code itself, I can say and user should see. So I can just keep email there and I can remove all of them. Okay, and I'll remove this from here, something like this. So user should see email edit box on login page. Okay, and users should see like password edit box on the login page, something like this. And user should see sign in on the login page, like something like this. Sign in login page, sign in button on the login page, something like this. Okay, and user should see create your Amazon account on login page, something like this. Okay, so if you have multiple things that you need to do for that specific task, we can use this and keyword. Okay, even in the same way, see, given when let's say user clicks on the home page and user something like, let's say user verify checks user is on login page, something like this. Okay, so even here also you can use it. So anywhere, like in case if you want to make that step into multiple steps, we can use this and. So if you want to do multiple tasks for a specific step, we can use this and keyword. Okay, so basically it's like a, see, you see it like how we write this gherkin scenario. So this is nothing but a gherkin. Using all these keywords, we will try to create the scenario, what we will be doing it in on the application, okay, or what our client is expecting it. Okay, so like this, with the help of this keywords, we'll write them. Okay, so basically given, generally what they call is given, when, then. So given is our precondition, when is our action, and then is what you are expecting from that action. Okay, and is just to add more steps to that specific task. Okay, and like this we also have something called as but. So let me come here. So we have and, then we have but also. Okay, but keyword. So basically when you want to perform in negative things, okay, so if you want to have a negative step in our scenario, we can use the but. Okay, see, something like this. Let's say in case here, like verifying the Amazon login functionality, username message verification. See, something like this. Let's say given user is on Amazon login page. I'm saying directly login page. Given user is on login page, so that's our prerequisite. So our test starts from the login step. Okay, so that means we are making sure that we have to make sure we are on this page in that step. Okay, so when we implement, we'll say open the browser, enter the URL, then click on the sign in button and come to this page. Okay, so given user is on the Amazon login page, okay, when user enters let's say incorrect username and correct password. Okay, when user enters incorrect username and correct password, I can say then user should see incorrect username error message on the application. Okay, then user should see incorrect error message on the application. I can say then, or we can also say but here. Okay, so it, like, in case if your scenario is a negative scenario that you are testing, we can say this but. Okay, or we can use directly then also, but we also have this but keyword which we can use to specify any negative scenarios. Okay, so in that way, like, either you can use but or then. Okay, so these are the different keywords. See, when I clicked on the save, it's giving me a warning message. Okay, and if you hover over that warning message, see, it says step user is on Amazon homepage does not have a matching glue code. Okay, so it says that when we save this, like, what our feature file or our Cucumber or the tool will do is it will go and check whether we have any code for this. Okay, as we haven't written any code to it, it gives a warning saying that this step does not have a code. So next what we'll do is we'll implement this code, like we'll execute, we'll do something and we will write code to actually perform this specific task. Okay, so whatever the task or whatever this scenario is saying, we'll write the code and we'll actually perform that. Okay, so to do that, we can use any of the language. Okay, so we can use Java, we can use .NET, like we can use Ruby, like that, like whatever the languages that are supported by that specific application, we can use it. Okay, but this is how we'll actually write the gherkin with the help of this keyword. See, it's an English like language. Now what we are doing, what actually a tester is performing it, what actually the developer is doing, okay, everything everybody in the team can understand. Okay, so our code sometimes the developer may not understand, the developer's code we may not understand, like tester's code and the developer's code the business people might not understand, but this scenario everyone will understand. Okay, business people, developers, testers, whoever is there, they can easily understand because it's a English like language. Okay, so that's because of this itself, like a lot of companies are slowly moving on to Cucumber. Okay, because of this feature itself. Okay, and now we have written this one in English language. Okay, in the same way we can write in other languages also, like I said, like Gujarati, Hindi, like French, Chinese, any of these languages. Okay, but we need some add-ins for that, but basically this is how we write it. Okay, so these are the some of the keywords like given, when, and, then. Okay, but, and also like we have something called as background. Okay, we have something called as background. Okay, so what this background will do is, see, for example, let's say okay, we have some feature, ATURE feature, let's say for example Gmail functionality. Okay, so in that, like, we have a scenarios. One scenario is to log into the application, then check email and log out of the application. Okay, so you have another scenario, login, like we want to compose email or send email and log out of the application. So in the third scenario, like let's say we have login, let's say you want to do some create a draft and you want to log out of the application. Okay, so in these three scenarios or in this feature, like what we are doing, every time the login and the logout is repeated. Okay, so we don't need to, so basically in this step what we'll do, like let's say given user is logged into Gmail, okay, with some users, with a users, okay, a user set or a user details, okay. Then we'll have when something and then something, okay, then, okay, like verify or check the email functionality and log out of the application. Okay, so let's say like log out of the application. So again, even in the second thing, what we'll have in the second step also, we'll have the same thing. Given user is logged into the application with a specific user. Even in the third scenario, same thing. So here what's happening, this step is being repeatedly used in multiple scenarios. Okay, so same thing, we are using it at 3 places. So instead of creating like this, like what we can do is we can use something called as background. Okay, so background in the sense like we can specify to the Cucumber that okay, this step is as a background and should be executed before each scenario. Okay, so whenever a scenario is being executed, so what it will do, it will first execute this background. So whatever that is there in the background, it will execute that background code. Okay, see, let me come here and that background will come here. So before scenario and after the feature comes the background like this. Okay, so in this background we can say user should be logged into, let's say, Gmail with specific users. Let's say Gmail with a user set, like this. Okay, so what will happen is if you are providing a background and some background to it, to our feature, so what it will do is it is going to execute, like whenever it executes this scenario, the first scenario, before executing the scenario, it will go and execute this background. So once it executes the background, then it will execute this scenario. So once this scenario is completed, when it's trying to execute the second scenario, before that, executing before the second scenario, it will go and again execute the background. Okay, same thing like how we had the @ before class and @ before class, or @ before method, @ before test. So what it was doing, so basically it was creating, or like user, like it was executing it before each and every test and before each and every class. So in the same way, even the background also does the same thing. So before every scenario, it's going to execute whatever that is there in the background. Okay, that's what the functionality of background is. Okay, so that's what the background. So if you have something that you need to execute before each scenario, we'll put that into the background. Okay, so this is very important. Like even like every scenario, if you have something, we'll put it into the background itself. Okay, even in the background you can have any number of steps. Okay, in the background again you can have given like whatever that you have, we can have all the steps even in the background also. Okay, so like now I gave only one step, but we can have multiple steps in there. Okay, and then like this is the background and we have given, when, then. So these are the main, and like there is one more star also. Okay, so star. So basically what exactly this star is, in case if you don't want to give any of these keywords but you still want to execute your test, okay, we can use this star keyword also. Okay, so what it will do is it will not treat that as any of the step like given or when or then. It directly executes whatever the step that you are providing it. Okay, see how to do that is, instead like same thing, we don't need to give anything, just say star. Okay, something like user should see create account page and user should see, let's say, what is there, conditions of use link. Okay, conditions of use link. So like this, so user should see conditions of use link. So even we can provide, in case if you don't want to give any of the keywords, we can also give this. Okay, and it doesn't treat any given, then it just like treats it as a one keyword and just creates the code for it. Okay, so we'll actually see like what code it creates and everything, like how to implement those steps, like we'll see all of them. Okay, so like this we have all these keywords, feature, scenario, given, when, then, but yeah, that's it. So these are the main keywords that we have that we will generally use in the like Cucumber. Okay, so next would be like how to implement these steps. Like we'll use one of the language that we have learned, like we can use the Java JUnit or Java TestNG, and we can implement these steps. Okay, with the help of again WebDriver, JUnit, everything we can use it. But this is how the steps will be written in the Cucumber. Okay, and basically this, like I said, will be given to us either by the business analyst or the business people, or testers can write it and again review with the business team as well as the developers and everybody in the team. Okay, so try to install this add-in and write some steps and go through each and every like keyword that we have used and try to practice them. Okay, so in the next class, like we'll try to implement all these steps. Okay, any questions so far, or is it clear?